Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest videos. Today we're diving into one of the darkest and most secretive chapters of modern history, Project MKUltra, the CIA's covert mind control experiments. This story is filled with government secrecy, unethical experiments, and horrifying revelations that you might not even believe were real. So grab some popcorn, because this is one chilling tale you won't want to miss. Imagine a world where your thoughts are not truly your own, where secret government experiments are designed to manipulate your mind and alter your behavior without your knowledge. What if I told you that this is not just the plot of a dystopian science fiction film, but a real historical event, one that was carried out by the CIA for more than 20 years? The story of Project MKUltra is one of the darkest and most disturbing chapters in modern history. A story of secrecy, human experimentation, and the pursuit of absolute control over the human brain. In the early 1950s, the United States government, gripped by the paranoia of the Cold War, launched an operation so controversial that, even today, much of it remains shrouded in mystery. Under the name MKUltra, the CIA conducted a series of experiments aimed at understanding and controlling human behavior. These experiments involved the use of powerful drugs such as LSD, as well as hypnosis, sensory deprivation, electroshock therapy, and even psychological torture. The most disturbing part? Many of the test subjects had no idea they were part of these inhumane and illegal trials. For years, the full extent of MKUltra was hidden from the public, as the government went to great lengths to destroy evidence and suppress the truth. However, in the 1970s, through a combination of accidental discoveries and Senate hearings, the world got a glimpse into one of the most unethical scientific endeavors in history. Even though many of the program's files were deliberately destroyed, the evidence that remains tells a horrifying story of government overreach, unethical scientific practices, and a complete disregard for human rights. The idea of mind control was not new, but what set MKUltra apart was the scale and secrecy of the operation. Unlike small-scale psychological studies conducted in universities, MKUltra was a government-backed program with limitless resources. The CIA recruited some of the top scientists, doctors, and psychiatrists in the country, granting them the power to experiment on human subjects without restrictions. This led to some of the most horrifying experiments ever conducted in modern history. Even though the government has officially denied that MKUltra continued after its exposure in the 1970s, some experts believe that similar experiments may still be happening under different names. Could mind control still be a part of covert government operations today? To understand the full scope of this chilling story, let's take a look at how MKUltra began and what led to its terrifying experiments. To fully understand Project MKUltra, we need to go back to the early 1950s, a time when the world was divided by the tensions of the Cold War. The United States was engaged in a fierce ideological battle against the Soviet Union, and the fear of communism dominated American politics. One of the greatest concerns of the CIA at the time was that Soviet and Chinese intelligence agencies had discovered ways to manipulate and control human minds. There were reports that American prisoners of war in Korea had been brainwashed by their captors, leading the CIA to believe that their adversaries had developed powerful mind control techniques. Determined not to fall behind in the psychological warfare race, the CIA launched MKUltra in 1953 with the goal of developing their own methods of controlling human thought. The program was led by Sidney Gottlieb, a chemist who would later become infamous for his cruel and unethical experiments. Under Gottlieb's leadership, the CIA poured millions of dollars into secret laboratories and research programs across the country. Universities, hospitals, and even prisons were used as testing grounds for experiments that would push the limits of science and ethics. While the stated objective of MKUltra was to find ways to counteract potential mind control techniques used by enemy nations, the reality was far more sinister. The CIA sought to develop techniques that could be used in interrogations, covert operations, and even political manipulation. What followed was a decades-long campaign of human experimentation that destroyed lives and left a trail of psychological and physical scars on its victims. One of the main reasons the CIA became so obsessed with mind control was their belief that the human mind could be reprogrammed like a machine. Intelligence officials theorized that if they could erase a person's identity, they could replace it with new instructions, creating agents or assassins who followed orders without question. This concept led to some of the most extreme experiments, with scientists pushing the boundaries of psychology and neuroscience in a reckless pursuit of power. As MKUltra expanded, it evolved into a massive operation that involved at least 80 institutions, including colleges, pharmaceutical companies, and hospitals. Some of these institutions were fully aware of what they were participating in, while others were kept in the dark, receiving government funding for psychological studies without knowing the true purpose. The sheer scale and secrecy of MKUltra made it one of the most dangerous programs in U.S. history. To achieve their sinister goal of mind control, MKUltra scientists conducted a wide range of experiments on unsuspecting subjects. These experiments were often brutal and completely disregarded the well-being of those involved. The most well-documented of these experiments involved psychedelic drugs, most notably LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide. The CIA believed that LSD could serve as a truth serum, or even erase memories. Agents and scientists secretly drugged thousands of individuals, including prisoners, mental patients, and even their own colleagues, to observe its effects. Many of the test subjects were completely unaware that they had been given LSD, leading to horrifying experiences of psychosis, paranoia, and hallucinations. Some victims suffered long-term psychological damage, and a few even died as a result of these unethical trials. In addition to drug experiments, the CIA also tested sensory deprivation as a means of breaking the human mind. Subjects were locked in dark, soundproof rooms deprived of sight, sound, and human interaction for extended periods. The intention was to study how isolation and psychological manipulation could alter a person's thoughts, memories, and behavior. Many subjects who endured these experiments reported severe mental trauma, with some developing symptoms similar to schizophrenia. Another horrifying aspect of MKUltra was the use of electroshock therapy in an attempt to erase and reprogram human memories. Patients were given extremely high doses of electroshock, sometimes multiple times a day, in an effort to break their will and rewrite their personalities. Some individuals were even placed into drug-induced comas for weeks, while recordings of repeated brainwashing messages played continuously in their ears. Scientists also experimented with hypnosis, believing they could use it to implant false memories or post-hypnotic commands that could be activated later. Some subjects were hypnotized and instructed to carry out specific actions after waking up, including revealing sensitive information or acting violently against their own will. This idea of creating a sleeper agent was one of the CIA's ultimate goals, and it continues to fuel conspiracy theories today. Even children were not spared from MKUltra's horrors. Declassified documents suggest that orphanages and foster homes were targeted, with young subjects being used in long-term psychological experiments. Some of these children were subjected to hypnosis, electroshock, and LSD tests, leaving them permanently traumatized. The level of cruelty involved in these experiments raises serious ethical questions that remain unanswered to this day. One of the most disturbing and controversial cases linked to MKUltra is the death of Frank Olson, a scientist who worked on biological weapons for the CIA. Olson was directly involved in government research, but he had begun questioning the morality of the work he was doing. His growing discomfort made him a potential threat to the secrecy of MKUltra. In 1953, Olson was unknowingly dosed with LSD by his CIA colleagues as part of an experiment. A few days later, he fell from the 13th floor of a New York hotel. The official report classified his death as a suicide, but many believe that Olson was murdered by the CIA to prevent him from exposing their secret experiments. Decades later, when his body was exhumed, forensic analysis suggested that Olson had been struck before he fell, raising further suspicions that his death was not an accident. The circumstances surrounding Olson's death are even more puzzling when we consider that his family was never informed of his participation in MKUltra until the 1970s, after CIA documents were declassified. The CIA's initial investigation into his death was superficial at best, raising questions about how far the agency would go to silence anyone who posed a threat to its secrets. As his widow and children fought for the truth, they were faced with an uphill battle. Olson's family eventually sued the government and was awarded a settlement, but the true story of his death and his potential role in MKUltra has never fully come to light. Olson's case remains a symbol of the dark and deadly lengths to which the CIA was willing to go to protect its secrets. For more than 2 decades, MKUltra remained one of the CIA's most closely guarded secrets. However, in 1973, when it became clear that government scandals were about to be exposed, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered all MKUltra documents to be destroyed. This attempt at covering up the truth was almost successful, until 1977, when a batch of 20,000 financial records was accidentally discovered. This discovery led to Senate hearings where the horrors of MKUltra were revealed to the public. Despite these revelations, no high-ranking officials were ever held accountable, and much of MKUltra's history remains unknown due to the deliberate destruction of evidence. Some believe that the CIA's cover-up was so thorough that it is possible that much of the data and personal accounts from MKUltra are still hidden today. The survivors of the experiments were left to rebuild their lives, but with few resources and no formal apology from the government. In the years following the exposure of MKUltra, the public learned about the deep psychological toll it took on the subjects involved. Survivors were left to deal with the aftermath, which included psychological trauma, long-term health issues, and a complete loss of trust in the institutions that were meant to protect them. The story of MKUltra is a terrifying reminder of what happens when power goes unchecked. The U.S. government conducted horrific experiments on its own citizens, violating basic human rights and leaving many people mentally scarred. The most disturbing question remains: could similar experiments still be happening today? The fact that the CIA was able to operate so secretly for so many years raises serious questions about how much we truly know about the activities of our government. Even in the aftermath of MKUltra's exposure, the CIA's secrecy and lack of accountability meant that many people never received justice. Could mind control still be a part of covert government operations today? We can only speculate what other programs the CIA or other intelligence agencies may be conducting without public knowledge. With the advent of new technologies, the potential for mind manipulation could be more advanced than ever. MKUltra serves as a warning of the dangers of government experimentation, and as a call for us to remain vigilant in the fight for civil liberties and human rights. What do you think? Is mind control still being researched in secret? Are there new MKUltra-like programs that we don't know about yet? Let us know in the comments. If you found this video interesting, like and subscribe for more deep dives into hidden history and government secrets. Stay tuned for the next investigation into the most controversial government projects that the public is still unaware of.